Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I hope my voice is good for everyone. So we'll start today's session. Last session we are discussing. Last session we are discussing about the OOPS principles, like polymorphism, abstraction, and total four principles we have discussed in the OOPS principles, like inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and encapsulation. After that, we are started the concept like exception handling. Exception handling is the very beautiful concept, and you definitely enjoy the exception handling concept. This is very important concept. Wherever you go, I will share my screen. I'm sharing my screen. Huh? Okay, exception handling. So today we'll discuss the concept is the exception handling. Wherever you go in the interview perspective or anywhere, any domain, I would say wherever you go in the interview perspective, they will ask the question on the exception handling. What does it mean by exception, and why to handle the exceptions, and these kind of questions they will ask. These kind of questions will comes in the interview perspective. These kind of questions you will be face in the interview perspective. So these are the major topics we will cover under the exception handling. The first one is the what is exception. Second one is why to handle the exception. And third one is types of exceptions. What are the types of exceptions we have in Java? And what is the difference between the exceptions and error? And is there any hierarchy for the exceptions? And the second one, I would say next one, exceptions. What does it mean by checked exceptions? And what does it mean by unchecked exceptions? What does it mean by exception propagations? And what does it mean by exception handling keywords? We have the keywords like a try, catch, finally, throw, and throws. So how will you handle the exceptions with the help of these keywords? We will learn. And the next thing, try with resources. After this, we have the user defined exceptions as well. User defined exceptions as well. So these are the concepts we should aware at least before. So then only before going to attend any interviews. If you are trying as a fresher level, if you are trying as a experience, whatever interview might be, the interviewer will compulsory ask the questions about these topics. The interviewer compulsory ask these two questions, these two on these exception handling questions. Okay, so in this exception handling we need to aware of the two words. One is the graceful termination, and second one is the abnormal termination. Abnormal termination. Before going to start, we should aware of these two words. We should aware of these two words. What does it mean by graceful termination? What does it mean by abnormal termination? Abnormal termination. So I will explain programmatical as well. Then you will get the clarity. Termination after program execution. After program execution. After program termination after program execution. Termination in the middle. Termination in the middle of the program. In the middle of the program. So in the middle of the program. Okay. So I will write the program through the programmatically. We'll try to understand what does it mean by graceful termination and what does it mean by abnormal termination. We will try to understand through the programmatical as well. Okay. Till now, you can you please observe this? The public is the access specifier, class is the keyword, demo is the class name. Okay, fine. Under this, I want to write main method. Main method. This is the shortcut for the main method. Control space. Under the main method, I need to take some statements. Like sysout is the one statement. Here I want to write some dummy message. That dummy message is the main method started. This is the main method now. Like public static void main is the main method. I am writing the same dummy message here. Main method started. Main method started. Okay, under this, what I am trying to writing is I want to write some set of dummy messages like uh, inside the main method, inside the main method statement. Okay, and after this, I want to write some set of statement that is main method ended, like that I want to write main method ended. Here what I'm trying to say is this is the class name. Under the class name we have the main method. Under the main method I have three statements. One is the main method started, second one is the inside the main method, and third one is the main method ended. Main method is ended. Okay, now I am saving the file. Saving the file, I am so when I am writing the set of instructions, meanwhile the compiler will check the syntax mistakes. Now my file don't have any syntax mistakes. Now I want to execute the file. How will I execute? So simply right click on the file, uh, run as Java application. Then if you observe here, whatever the written the statements, main method started, inside the main method, and main method ended, whatever the statements I have written, the statements, all statements got executed. All the statements got executed. Whenever all the statements got executed, then you can say that is the graceful termination. That is the grateful termination. So you can observe here, termination after program execution. Termination after program execution, then we can say graceful termination. Graceful termination. This graceful termination also called as successful termination. Successful termination. This graceful termination also called as successful termination. Successful termination. So the termination will happen after the program execution. After program execution, you can observe I have taken the three statements. The termination, when the controller got terminated, whenever all the statements got executed, then the controller will got executed. The controller will got terminated. The controller will got terminated. The same scenario I am saying here also. Graceful termination, or we can say successful termination. The termination will happen after the program execution. Then we can say graceful termination. Graceful termination. As a developer, we have the some responsibility, right? Writing the code, and we need to successfully run the program also. Run the program also. For example, you develop the one project, and after some time if the project won't work, then what will happen? They will provide the salary or not? No, nobody won't provide the salary. Whenever the project is working, then only they will provide the salaries. Then only they will provide the salaries. I would say if the any issue, the program is not working, they won't provide the salary. That is your responsibility. That is your responsibility. Like responsibility meaning execution of the program should be the developer responsibility. Developer responsibility. So in this case, you can observe I have taken the three statements. So the three statements got executed successfully. If the statement, all the statements are executed successfully, then we can say that is the graceful termination. That is the graceful termination. Or we can say, successful termination. Successful termination. Okay, fine. Now I want to take here instead of this one. So I hope everyone clear with this point. I hope everyone clear with this point. Graceful termination. I hope everyone clear with this point. Okay, next
Yes,
thing
sir.
here, I would like to write like this: 10 divided by 5. 10 divided by 5. So if I write like this, I am saving the file and I am executing the file. Then what will happen? You can observe. You can observe main method, first statement got executed, okay, second statement got executed, okay, third statement also got executed, then I can say this is the graceful termination, this is the successful termination, this is the successful termination. But all the times all the statement not executed, sometimes some issues might be occur. So if you can observe, instead of 5 I will take the 10, I will take the 10, I am saving the file and I am running the file. Sometimes the statements not executed properly due to any issue. If you can observe here, if you can observe here, so in my program I have three statements. One is the main method started, and the second is the division, third one is the ended. But in my case, when I am executing the file, only first statement will be executed. What about remaining? But I want my requirement, I want graceful graceful termination. But in this case, only one statement got executed. What about remaining? This is not like if I execute like this now, this is not as a good developer. So we need to execute all the statements, we need to execute all the statements. If the controller got terminated like this, then we can say this is the abnormal termination. Abnormal termination. So you can observe here, abnormal termination. Termination will happen in the middle of the program only, in the middle of program execution, in the middle of program execution. Got the clarity? Before going to start the exception handling, you should aware, we should aware of the these two words. What does it mean by graceful termination? What does it mean by abnormal termination? Then only you will get the clarity about the exception handling. Abnormal termination is the termination in middle due to some issues. Due to some issues. If the termination will be happen in the middle, that is not good for the programmer. That is the developer responsibility to achieve the graceful termination. That is the developer responsibility. So here some issue will be there. What is the issue? Any number we cannot divide it by 0. That is the issue. So we need to handle this issue. How will you handle? So how will you handle? We will discuss in the upcoming topics. Right now, you should aware what does it mean by graceful termination, what does it mean by abnormal termination. Whenever all the statements got executed, then you can say graceful termination. Whenever the controller will be terminated in the middle only, then you can say that is the abnormal termination. Abnormal termination. I hope these 2 points are clear. I hope these 2 points are clear.
Yeah, sir.
Now we'll start the first thing. They will ask, what is exception? What is exception? What is exception? In the interview perspective or wherever you go, a regular question. Regular question they will ask, what is exception? It is unexpected or unwanted. Unexpected or unwanted situation in a program. In a program, execution is called exception. You got the clarity? Exception meaning it is the unexpected or unwanted situation in the program execution. In the program execution. If you can observe here, this is the like we have the three statements. First statement, second statement, third statement. Normally, like the main developer goal is want to execute all the statements. But what will happen in this case? What will happen in this case? You can observe here what I am saying. Unexpected or unwanted situation, unexpected or unwanted situation. This is the some situation. Due to this situation, due to this situation, the statement like after this statement, remaining statement not executing. So the controller got terminated abnormally. So like we need to avoid that one. So basically, what is exception meaning? It is the unexpected or unwanted situation in the program execution is called the exception. Is called exception. So I will repeat this statement one more time. Exception meaning unexpected or unwanted situation in the program execution. If you can observe here, we have the three statements, and first statement got executed, but after the second statement and third statement not executed due to some situation, some unwanted or unexpected situation will happen. So due to that situation, remaining two statements not executed. Remaining two statements not executed. So the controller got terminated abnormally. The controller got terminated abnormally. So this much is clear. What is exception is clear. So next point, why to handle the exception? Why to handle the exception meaning, like I will tell some points here. So first point, you should aware what is exception. Exception is the unexpected or unwanted situation in the program execution is called the exception. Exception. Like second point, you should remember, like exception will, what will happen if the exception will occur, the controller got terminated in the middle only. In the middle only, I would say. Controller got terminated in the middle only, in the middle of the, in the middle of the program, in the middle of the program execution, in the middle of the program execution. And then note, you should remember one point, as a programmer, as a programmer as a programmer, you can achieve, you should execute all the statements in the program, all the statements in the program. As a developer, as a programmer, you should execute all the statement in the program. Next note point you can remember, you can achieve graceful termination, you can achieve graceful termination with the help of exceptions. With the help of handling exceptions only. Okay. So in the interview perspective, you should remember what is exception. Exception is the unexpected or unwanted situation in the program is called exception. So exception will occur, if the exception will occur, controller got terminated in the middle of execution, in the middle of the program only. As a programmer, you should execute all the statements, all the statements in the program, as all the statements in the program. And second point, you can achieve graceful termination with the help of handling exceptions. With the help of handling exceptions only. With the help of handling exceptions. So, so till now, anyone have any issues? Can you please read all these points 1 minute from here to here? Graceful termination, abnormal termination, and what is exception? Can you please read these 5 points? Can you please read these 5 points? Oh, clear everyone? So should I go for next concept? Next one is the types of exceptions. Types of exceptions. The main purpose of the exception is we need to execute all the statements in the program. So like in the next concept, types of applications. I would say types of exceptions. Types of exceptions. In the types of exceptions, in the types of exceptions, the first point you can remember. I will tell like types of exceptions. Here we have the types of exceptions. So mainly we'll have the first one is the throwable. Throwable is the main class. Throwable is the main class of the exceptions. Exceptions. In Java, we have multiple predefined classes. Multiple predefined classes for handling the exceptions. For handling the exceptions. In Java, we have the lot of not lot of we have multiple predefined classes to handling the exceptions. So the first class is the throwable. First class is the throwable. After this, we'll have the exception. Exception. Exception is the one predefined class, and second one we will have the error. We'll have the error. We'll have the error. So these are the two types of exceptions. And this is the throwable is the one class, exception is the one class, and error is the class one class. So from starting onwards, we are saying one point, that is the object is the every super class, all the like I would say super class, all the classes available in the Java. So for the throwable super class, parent class is the object. Here object is the parent class. Object is the parent class. Object and throwable, exception and error. Exception and error. Okay, I will take notepad and I will write the hierarchy of the exceptions as well. Then you will get the clarity about the exception hierarchy as well. So I will take the MS Paint. 1 minute. I will take one MS Paint. Okay, now I will take the, I will expand this one. Expand this one. Expanding this one. Expanding this one. Expanding this one. Expanding this one. Okay, now I will take the color, and now I would like to take some, so I would like to take some one more thing. First one I would say, 1 minute, I will connect this one. Where is the cable? Yeah, I hope is it visible my screen? Okay, so we are discussing about the hierarchy, exception hierarchy. So I will write here exception hierarchy. So I will reduce some pixels. This is 5 pixel actually. I will reduce to 2 pixels. So I am saying exception hierarchy. Exception hierarchy. So in this exception hierarchy, first one you should remember, throwable is the parent class of the subclasses. Throwable is the parent class of the subclasses. So first one is the throwable. First one is the throwable. This is the predefined classes which will available in the java.lang package. This is the actually predefined class. This is the predefined class. Under this throwable classes, again we will have the two subclasses. First one is the error. First one is the error. Error is the one class, and second one is the exception. 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 In the exception, again we can categorize into two types. One is the checked exception, another one is the unchecked exception. One is the checked exception, one is the checked exception, and another one is the unchecked exception. What does it mean by checked exception and what does it mean by unchecked exception? We will see one by one. What does it mean by checked exception and what does it mean by unchecked exception? Checked exception meaning the compiler will check the compiler will identify the syntax mistakes. Then we can say that is the checked exception. Then we can say checked exception. Compiler known exceptions is called checked exceptions. Compiler known exceptions is called checked exceptions. And compiler unknown exceptions we can say unchecked exceptions. At the time of writing our programs, for example, if I open this one, if I open this one, if I delete the semicolon, then it is throwing. Who will identify this mistake? Compiler. In the IDE, we have that feature. Meanwhile, while writing the program, meanwhile, what the compiler will do? Compiler also meanwhile checking the syntaxes. This is the not good way. This is not we are doing the syntax mistakes. That's why the compiler will identify that mistakes and that hey boss, we are mistake the semicolon. That is not that is violating our rules. So could you please put the syntax mistakes like that? So we need to put the syntax. Meaning the compiler, what the compiler will do? The compiler will check. Meanwhile, will check. It will check syntax mistakes. It will check syntax mistakes. Okay. In the exceptions also we have two types. One is the checked exception, another one is the unchecked exceptions. Checked exceptions is known as compiler known exceptions. Compiler known exceptions is known as checked exceptions. So if I delete the, we can observe this thing. So this exception, this thing compiler no. That's why the compiler is throwing the exception. So if I put the semicolon, then you can observe. Then you can observe. Uh, in this case, you should remember like the compiler while writing, if there any syntax mistakes will be there, the compiler will identify and the compiler will throws the exception. Then we can say checked exception. We can say checked exceptions. Or also you can call like as the compile time exceptions. Compile time exceptions. Here we can say some examples I will tell. Checked exceptions I will tell some examples like class not found exception, class not found exception, file reader exception, file reader exception. So these are the examples for the checked exceptions. These are the examples for the checked exceptions. And what are the examples? What does it mean by unchecked exception? Unchecked exceptions meaning compiler unknown exceptions, we can say unchecked exceptions. Compiler unknown exceptions, we can say unchecked exceptions. And what are the examples for the unchecked exceptions are the first one is the null pointer exception. Null pointer exception. I will tell what does it mean by null pointer exception. No issue. First one is the null pointer exception. Second one is the arithmetic exception. Second one is the arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception. And third one, IO exception. These are the examples for the unchecked exception. In the interview perspective, you should remember what does it mean by exception, checked exception, and what does it mean by unchecked exception. Checked exception and unchecked exception. Checked exception meaning compiler known exceptions. Here we can say compile time exceptions also. We can say compile time exceptions. Compile time exceptions. Here we can say runtime exceptions. Runtime exceptions meaning the JVM will identify the exceptions and the JVM will identify the exceptions and will tell JVM will tell the exceptions. Hey boss, this is the runtime exception. Could you please modify it? Runtime exceptions. For example, if you observe this program and in the line number, I would say, if you observe this line, 10 divided by 0. Basically, this is this is not a good statement. Like any number, we cannot divide it by 0. We cannot divide it by 0. But the compiler don't know that thing. That's why the compiler is not showing any issues. If you can observe here, system.out.println 10 divided by 0. This is the actually one issue. Due to this issue, program not executed properly. But that issue compiler don't know. That's why compiler is not throwing the error. That kind of exceptions we can say unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions meaning some exceptions compiler also don't know. Some exceptions compiler also don't know. In this case also, this is also one, we cannot, any number we cannot divide it by 0. But generally the compiler need to throw this one. But this issue compiler also don't know. That's why compiler is not also showing anything. Is not showing anything. So that's why this is the example for the arithmetic exception is example for the unchecked exception. Unchecked exception. I am saving the file and I am running the file. You can observe here the program is got terminated in the middle only. Then we can say this is the abnormal termination. Then we can say this is the abnormal termination. Okay. Now next thing, null pointer exception. Null pointer exception meaning I will take one null value. I will take here string. I would like to take the string s equal to, I will take some null value null and I will take, so what I am doing is, here what I am doing is null meaning nothing. So the string is holding nothing, but I want to, I am performing one more operation on the null value. Then how the operation will perform? Operation meaning we need to take the some values, everything. We need to take some values. So in this case, we are doing caret is the one operation. Caret is the one method. Normally methods will do the operations on the values. But here there is no value. But we are trying to do the operation. Then what will happen? It will throw the exception. What kind of exception it will throw? It will throw the, I will open, I will take S1. Hello. I will remove this one. Guys, these two lines, everybody clear? Could I explain one more time? Actually, what the normally methods meaning, methods, it is used to perform the operation on the values, But in this case, string is the data type, s is the reference variable, s is holding null value, meaning s holding nothing, but we are performing the operation on the null. Then what will happen? Normally S is holding null values, meaning there is no value. Operation methods, normally methods will perform operations on the values only, but S is holding null, but we are performing the operations on the null values. Then this kind of exceptions we can say null pointer exception. I am run the file, run a Java application. We can observe here the exception. We can read this exception. We can read this exception. Exception in thread main java.lag dot null pointer exception. We cannot invoke the string dot caret. Why? Because s is the reference variable. S is holding only null value. If it is holding the null value, how will you operate? How will you do the operation on the null values? No, that is impossible. That's why it is showing the null pointer exception. I hope you got the clarity about the null pointer exception. Method meaning the method will do the operation on the values. Here the string s is holding the nothing. Still is holding no value. But we are trying to do the operation on the null value. That's why it is showing the null pointer exception. That's why it is showing the null pointer exception. Null pointer exception. But that's the thing compiler don't know. This issue compiler don't know. That's why the compiler is not showing the any issue. So that's why null pointer exception also we can say example for the unchecked exception. So null pointer exception also compiler don't know. That's why the compiler not throwing the any issue, not throwing the any issue. So next thing, this is the I would say this is the null pointer exception. Null pointer exception. And one more exception we'll have, that is the arithmetic index out of bounds exception. We can say, I will tell, I'm writing here. This is the shortcut for remembering. AI A100, you can remember AI 00 B double O B, meaning arithmetic, not arithmetic, array index, array index out of bounds exception. Bounds exception. Okay. What does it mean by? I will show you through the programmatical as well. Normally, I will take the one array int a equal to. I am initializing some values with 10, comma 20, comma 30. Okay. Semicolon. Now I want to call the sysout. Now we need to remember. So in the arrays concept, beauty of the arrays is we can able to store the values based on the index positions only. We can retrieve the values based on the index positions only. That is the beauty of the array. And the arrays concepts we already discussed about the arrays. In the arrays concepts, the beauty of array is we can able to store the values based on the index positions only. We can able to retrieve the values based on the index positions only. Okay, you can observe where the 10 got where the value 10 got stored at the 0th position, and where the 20 got stored at the position 1, index 1th position, where the got where 30 got stored in the array at the position 2. Now I would like to retrieve the value at the index position 99. If I write like this, then what will happen? There is no 99th indexation, but I am trying to retrieve the value array of 99. Then what will happen? There is no value. If there is any value, then it will retrieve. We can able to retrieve, but there is no value. How can I retrieve? So then this kind of program we can say it will give the some kind of exception. Like the compiler also don't know. That's why the compiler is not returning, is not showing any error. If you can observe here, you can observe here, you can observe here, you can observe here. What is it is showing? Exception in thread main java.lang array index out of bounds exception. Array index out of bounds exception. So if I get the exception in the middle of the program, what about so this is the good program. As a developer, the program whatever you are writing the statements and all, the program got terminated in the middle only, abnormal termination. That is the good thing. No, that is not good thing. Our main goal is we need to achieve the main graceful termination. Then only we can say, then only the project will work. Then only we will get the salaries. That is the thing we need to. We need to achieve the graceful termination. We need to achieve the graceful termination. If so, if the controller got terminated in middle only, that is not a good programmer. That is not that is not a good program. Then how will you handle? How will you handle this kind of exception? So if I take, I will tell one more example for example, I'm deleting main method. I'm deleting main method. Okay, I'm deleting main method. I'm saving the file. I'm writing the file. I'm writing the file. I'm saving the file. You can observe here what kind of error it is. This is the error. What kind of error it is showing? What is it showing? This is the error. Oh, we can say we need to write the main method, then only you can compile the program. Then only you can compile the program. Okay. Now I will take the main method. I will take the main method. Now here I will take file reader. File reader fr equal to new file reader. Okay. Here I would like to take any file like abc dot text. If you can observe here, at the time of writing the program only, the compiler is identifying, hey boss, we are trying to writing the file name, but there is no file in this path. How will you write that one? It is checking in the compile time only. It is checking in the, at the time of program writing only. It is checking. Then we can say, then we can say checked exceptions. The compiler known exceptions is called, also called as checked exceptions. Compiler unknown exceptions we can say unchecked exceptions. Class not found exception is the example. File reader exception is the example for the checked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions example for the unchecked exceptions are the null pointer exceptions, arithmetic exceptions, and array index out of bounds exception. This is the shortcut to remember array index out of the bounds exception is AIOOBE and IO exceptions and IO exceptions. Okay, this is the hierarchy throwable, and here we will have the object. So object is the parent class and throwable the child class, and these are the subclasses for the throwable class. These are the subclasses for the throwable class. In the throwable, we will have the two types of exceptions. One is the checked exceptions, another one is the unchecked exceptions. Compiler known exceptions, we can say checked exceptions. compiler unknown exceptions, we can say unchecked exceptions. Okay, sir. What are the examples for the exception, checked exceptions? We'll have the class not found exception. We'll have the final reader exceptions. And we can say, what are the unchecked exceptions? Is there any examples for the unchecked exceptions, sir? Yes, we have. Runtime exceptions. In this case, JVM will identify the exceptions and JVM will throw the exceptions. But in this case of checked exceptions, compiler will identify the syntax mistakes and compiler will identify the mistakes and compiler will give the notification. Hey boss, this is the error. Could you please modify? In this case, JVM will identify the issues and JVM will give the notification. Hey boss, this is the issue. Could you please resolve? What are the examples for the unchecked exceptions? Yes, we have the examples for the unchecked exceptions. That is the null pointer exception. Second one is the arithmetic exception. Third one is the array index out of the boundary exception. Array index out of the boundary exception. So these are the exceptions. Due to these exceptions, so due to this exception, what will happen? If you can observe here, due to these exceptions, what will happen? What is happening? The program is got terminated in the middle only. The program got terminated in the middle only. The program got terminated in the middle only. So if you can observe, so how will you overcome? These exceptions? Um, so you can observe exception handling. One second, I will scroll down. So we have the exceptions in the checked category and unchecked category also. How will you handle these exceptions? Is it possible to handle the exceptions? Yes, we have the possibility. Exception handling. So with the help of keywords, we can able to handle these all those exceptions. Keywords. With the help of we have the 5 keywords. With the help of 5 keywords, we can able to handle the checked exceptions and we can able to handle the unchecked exceptions as well. We can able to handle the checked exceptions and we can able to handle the unchecked exceptions. Okay, sir. What are the keywords we have? First one is the try. Try is the keyword. I will explain one by one. First, you should aware what are the 5 keywords available in the checked exceptions. Okay. What are the first you should remember what are the keywords available in the exception handling. First one you should remember try keyword. Second one you should remember catch. Third one you should remember finally. I will explain clearly where will you go for the try and I will explain clearly. First first thing you should aware what are the keywords available in the exception handling. Fourth one throw. Fifth one throws. These are the keywords. With the help of these keywords, we can able to handle these checked exception and unchecked exception. Finally, you can able to achieve the graceful termination. Our main purpose is we can able to get the graceful termination. So how will you get the graceful termination? So in case of we'll have the some exceptions. So how will you overcome those exceptions? Yes, we have some keywords. Try keyword, catch keyword, finally keyword, throw and throws keyword. With the help of those keywords, we can able to achieve the graceful termination. Okay. So till now, anyone have any confusion? So could you please go through it once? What is exception? Why to handle the exception? Types of exceptions. Exception vs error. Exception vs error. So exception vs error. Exceptions we can handle. Exceptions we can handle. We can handle the exceptions. Error we cannot handle. So you should remember, in the interview perspective, they will ask the difference. What is the difference between the exception and what is the exception and error? The difference is, exception we can handle the exceptions, but in case of error we cannot handle. We cannot handle the exceptions. In case of exception is we can handle. We can handle the exceptions. We can handle the exceptions. Exceptions is nothing but some mistakes also you can say. Hmm. Exceptions we can handle, but errors we cannot handle. After that, we discussed about the exception hierarchy. So this is the exception hierarchy. Object is the superclass, all the classes available in the Java, and throwable is the superclass for the subclasses. Error is the subclasses. Exception is the subclasses. In the exceptions, again, it will categorize into two exceptions. One is the checked exceptions, another one is the unchecked exceptions. Checked exceptions also known as compiler known exceptions, or also we can say compile time exceptions. What are the examples we have in the compile time examples, sir? Yes, we have the examples. Class not found exceptions and file reader exceptions. Okay, what does it mean by unchecked exceptions? Yes, file the compiler don't know some issues. The compiler no, unknown errors we can say unknown issues. The compiler unknown exceptions we can say unchecked exceptions. Okay, what are the examples for the unchecked exceptions? Yes, we have the examples. Examples are the first one we should remember, null pointer exception. Second one is the array index out of the boundary exception. Third one, arithmetic exception. And fourth one we can say IO exception. IO exception. Okay, after this exception hierarchy we just now discussed, and checked exceptions, unchecked exceptions. You guys, I hope this much points you clear. What is exception? Why to handle the exception? Types of the exceptions, exception vs error, and checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. You guys clear with this point? You guys clear with these points? What is exception? Why to handle the exception? Types of exceptions, exceptions vs error, exception hierarchy, checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. You guys clear with this point? So we have
Yes,
the
sir.
exceptions in checked, and how will you overcome these two? With the help of five keywords, we can able to achieve the graceful termination. We can achieve the graceful termination. First one is the try, catch, finally, throw and throws. Throw and throws. Throw and throws. So till now, can you guys please, could you please read 2 minutes? Could you please read 2 minutes? As a programmer, Your responsibility is to achieve the graceful termination. To achieve the graceful termination. In the real-time scenarios, we'll have the different environments like dev environment, testing environment, pre-prod environment, and prod environment. Whatever the code written by you, the code should be work in the dev environment, the code should be work in the test environment, the code should be work in the pre-prod environment, the code should be work in the prod environment. Whatever the code you written, the code should be work all the environments. Sometimes what will happen now? Like I have written the program, my code is working in my system only, but when I am pushing my code to the test environment, then my code is not working. So if you say like that as a developer, if you say like that, no, nobody can listen. Nobody can listen. What they will tell, that is your responsibility, man. Whatever the code you written, the code should be working the all the environments, all the environment. That is your responsibility. If you saying my code is working my environment, that is your issue. Whatever the code you written, the code should be working the all the environments. Work in the all the environments. There one quotation will be there like మా పిల్లోడు మా ఇంట్లోనే చదువుతాడు అంటే సరిపోదు కదా, మీ పిల్లోడు అన్ని చోట్ల చదవాలి. అంతే కదా, మా పిల్లోడు మా ఇంట్లో చదువుతాడు స్కూల్లో చదవట్లేదంటే అలా ఒప్పుకోరు కదా. మీ పిల్లోడు అన్ని చోట్ల బాగా చదవాలి. సేమ్ ఇన్ ద సేమ్ సెనారో ఇన్ దిస్ కేస్ ఆల్సో, whatever the code written by you, the code should be work in the all the environments. Dev environment, the code should be work, and prod environment, the testing environment, the code should be work, and pre-prod, the code, your code should be work, and all the environments, your code should be work. Your code should be work. So after this, we'll start with the how to handle the exception handling with keywords. Exception handling with keywords. So till now we like discussed about the checked exception and null pointer exceptions. So we can able to handle these exceptions with the help of 5 keywords. What are the 5 keywords we have? First one is the try, catch, finally, throw, and throws. These are the 5 keywords which will be available in the Java reserved keywords, like predefined keywords. And with the help of these keywords, you can able to achieve the exceptions. You can able to achieve the graceful termination. We'll see one by one. What does it mean by try block, and what does it mean by catch block, and what does it mean by finally block. And so I will take the example. First, we'll start with the try block. What does it mean by try block, and when will you go for the try block? First, we'll start with the try block. Try try is the predefined keyword. So this thing already everybody knows. And within the try block, you should keep the risky code. You should keep the risky code. Risky code means where the exception is coming. You should keep the exception lines inside the try block. You should remember try mean risky code. You should keep the risky code. Risky code inside the try block. Risky code inside the try block. Try block. For example, in this case, if you can observe here, I am taking this one, and here what I am writing, I am taking 2 statements, sysout statement. I am taking sysout statement. Here I would like to write some dummy message. The dummy message is main method started. main method started. Okay. Now what I'm doing, sys out main method ended. This is normal dummy method I'm writing. Main method ended. Okay. Inside these two statements, I want to write one more statement. That statement is sys out. I want to do the what I want to do. I want to do the division. 10 divided by 2. I'm saving the file. I'm running the file. What will happen? Yes, successfully my file got got graceful termination. Okay, fine. In this case, I'm okay. I'm also happy with that. But sometimes what will happen? Sometimes what will happen? Sometimes might be some exceptions. The file got abnormally terminated. That is not good thing now. So if you can observe 10 divided by 0. So in I would say we cannot divide any number with 0. What will happen in this case? I'm saving the file. You can observe here. You can observe here. The exception is coming. The exception is coming. Where the exception is coming? One second. I will open. Okay. So due to this line, remaining lines are also not executing. So that is not a good thing. As a programmer, execution is our responsibility. Execution is our responsibility. Try block, with the help of try block, we can keep the risky code inside the try block. We should keep the risky code inside the try block. Okay, I'm I'm copying. I'm cut this line, and now I will take the try block, and inside the block from here to here, this is the scope of the try block. Inside the try block, I am keeping the risky code. Control V. Okay, I'm keeping the risky code, but it is throwing the issue. Why it is throwing the issue? We need to catch. Most of them are confusing in these cases. I will explain clearly. I will explain clearly. For example, this is the try block. From here to here, this is the scope of the try. When I write like this SOP, I would say 10 divided by 0. When I am keeping the risky code inside the block, then what will happen internally? Meaning, it will create the object with exception. It will create the create object with arithmetic exception. Guys, this point is clear. When I am keeping the risky code inside the try block, internally what will happen? Internally, JVM will create the object with automatic exception. This is the one object. This is the JVM will create the object with arithmetic exception. Object with arithmetic exception. What does it mean by catch? What does it mean? What does it mean by catch? So catch meaning we need to catch. What we need to catch? What we need to catch? So already JVM will create the object. Here we have the object. So we need to catch that object to here. Normally, guys, how will you create the object? How will you create the object, guys? Class name. For example, if you will take student, so first you should create the object. I will create the object new student. This is the what this is the object creation. So in this case also, this is the object. So how will you handle? So we need to store this object into the reference variable. This is the reference variable name, and this is the data type. This is the data. In this way, same in this scenario also. In this scenario also, we are creating the object. We are creating the object. That object we should store inside the catch block. This is the reference variable. A reference variable. This is the reference variable. So what this reference purpose is, the reference variable is holding the this object. Okay, now you guys clear? Most of them are confusing in this area. Most of them are confusing in this area. That's why I am saying more times. This is the reference variable. This is similar to object creation only. Whenever you are keeping the risky code inside the try block, at the time JVM will create the object for the automatic exception. So here the syntax for the catch block is catch meaning catching. So whatever the object created by the JVM, we will store inside the reference variable. This reference variable data type is class name. Here also this the reference variable data type is what kind of exception we are throwing. That exception is only a reference, that same class as a data type. Here in this case arithmetic exception. Guys, this much is clear. Arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception from here to here. Here you should write the message. Message. What kind of message? Here that line is coming giving the exception. Here we need to give the some message. Here we need to give the some message. This is the internally process. It will happen. This is the internal process. It will happen. You should aware the internal process. Most of them are confusing in this area. Try block meaning it will keep the, we need to keep the risky code inside the block, and whenever we are creeping inside the block, the JVM will create the object with arithmetic exception. For example, in this exception it might be null pointer exception. Then what will happen? The JVM will create the object with null pointer. The JVM one object will create, that is the null pointer of null pointer object. So we need to hold the object with the help of reference variable, and then this reference variable data type is the arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception. So in the, we are catching that exception, and you are giving some messages to the, we are giving some messages to we are giving some messages. So this one is clear. This one is clear or not? Could you please tell me? This one is clear. Was it clear, this one? Could I explain one more time? Hmm? So I will explain one more time. Could you? Hmm? Hmm? Hmm. Okay. Most of them are confusing in this area. Uh, that's why I'm focusing more times here. Try block meaning wherever in the program we are coming like unwanted or unexpected error lines, that risky lines you should keep inside the try block. You should keep inside the try block. So in this program, this is our program actually. In this case, the risky code is division. Risky code is division. So I am taking a risky code here. I can say risky code I will write inside the try block. Whenever you are writing the risky code inside the try block, what will happen internally? The JVM will create the one object. The JVM will create the one object. What object it will be? What kind of exception this one? Like this is the arithmetic exception. That's why uh, object will create JVM will create the arithmetic exception object. Arithmetic exception object. Okay. Now we will have the, while writing the try block, catch block also mandatory. Catch block also mandatory. So here the catch block, what will happen internally inside the catch block? Meaning this is the syntax for the catch block. Catch is the keyword. So here syntax, here data type. You should take the data type, and here you should take the reference name. This much is clear. Reference variable name. Reference variable name. In this case, variable name, we can take anything. Now I would like to take E. E is the reference value. What E will do? E will hold this object. E will hold this object. What does it mean by object? The JV will create the object for the arithmetic exception. Now this reference is holding this object. Okay, this is the reference variable now. But we need to mention any data type. What kind of data type we should mention here? What kind of exception it is throwing? We should mention same. Why? Because arithmetic exception is the predefined class only. Predefined class only. So that's why we should mention this class name as a data type. Arithmetic exception. This is the reference variable name. This is the class name. This is the class name. There inside the catch block, we should mention the some message. What kind of message you should mention? Hey boss, we cannot divide it. We cannot divide it by zero. So this kind of message we will display. This kind of then the every program then only you can get the graceful termination. Okay, I will go here and now I will take the catch. I will take the catch keyword. Okay, here I will mention. Now what does it mean by E? E is the reference variable. E is holding the object. What kind of object it is holding? Whatever the object is created by the JVM. In this case, what kind of object it will create? An arithmetic object will be arithmetic exception object the JVM will create. Now that object I am holding in the E variable. The E variable reference variable data type is the arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception. If I arithmetic spelling exception, you can simply hover that, then it will change to arithmetic exception. Okay, now I need to write the message like system dot sysout here. Hey boss, we cannot divide it by 0. 10, the value of 10, we cannot divide it by 0. We cannot divide it by 0. Then what will happen? Now previous case the program is abnormally terminated. Abnormally terminated meaning the program, the controller got terminated in the middle only. So that is the drawback. Now how to overcome the drawback? We'll have the 5 keywords. With the help of 5 keywords you can able to draw, you can overcome those drawbacks. Now in this case what I'm doing, whatever the risky code, wherever the exception is coming, I want to keep that risky code inside the try block. So what the internally will happen, whenever we are keeping the risky code inside the try block, the JVM will create the object. Now I am holding that object with the help of E. That's why I'm mentioning the catch keyword. This is the reference variable. This reference variable data type is the exception, arithmetic exception. Now instead of this exception, I want to display. I would like to display this message. Hey boss, the value of 10 we cannot divide it by 0. Now I am saving the file. I am running the I am running the file. Then what will happen? Oh yes, we successfully got the graceful termination. This is our responsibility. So this is the final output we want. We want graceful termination. We want graceful termination. We don't want abnormal termination. Whenever we will get the graceful termination, then only we can able to, they will be able to give the salaries. Got the clarity? Anyone have any confusion? Any confusion? Anyone? Okay. Now what you guys will do now? Take 10 minutes break. We'll start session at 4:50. Take 15 minutes break. We'll start the session at 4:50, and we'll close the exceptions today itself. Why? Because we don't have enough time. The batch will start 23 of this month. So within this 20 of this month, we will complete the syllabus as well. And this weekend, Saturday and Friday also, I will take the classes. Please be available. I will share the related to notes, class, everything. I will be shared within the uh, group itself. Please go through the all the I would say notes and assignments. Please do the notes and assignments, and you can share in the groups as well. Okay. So take 15 minutes break at around 4:40. We'll start the 4:50. We'll take 4:50, and 4:50 we'll start the second class also. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you. We'll catch up in the second session.